Hey guys, and welcome into the newest episode of the 7-round mock draft series. Today we're going to be moving on to pick 12, where we get the Las Vegas Raiders picking on the clock. They have 2 first-round picks. Definitely a fun situation for them. They're moving to Vegas. They got a new Death Star Arena is what I call it. That huge-ass stadium that they got is really cool. So, fresh new start for them. We'll see what they do with their team, how they can develop it. They looked really good. A lot of surprises last year. Didn't expect them to play as well as they did. So let's see if they can add to that going into the 2020 season. At pick 12, I am selecting Henry Ruggs III, the receiver out of Alabama. I am selecting him over another Alabama receiver in Jerry Jeudy, who is still on the board in this mock draft as well. And I'll get into that in just a second. But if you haven't known, Henry Ruggs III, 5'11", 188, out of Alabama, ran a 4.27 at the 40-yard dash at the combine. 42-inch vertical as well. He has been an absolute monster in his time at Alabama, and I think he's going to translate that well to the NFL. What he's done since he's been at Alabama for the last 3 years, he's had 98 catches for 1,700 yards, 17.5 yards per catch, with 24 touchdowns. 24 touchdowns on 98 receptions. That is absolutely insane. He also has only had one drop this last season. In the 2019 season, one drop was all he dropped. Absolutely insane for a guy his age to be producing that well. So one thing that you love, obviously, we got to talk about the speed. The speed is absolutely killer, and there's no other way to talk about it. I mean, he has Tyreek Hill speed. He has Reggie Bush speed. You know, he has John Ross speed. He is that fast. Everyone thought he was going to break the record at the combine. He unfortunately didn't, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have that speed. He really does. The reason I love this fit is because even though that speed can be something you can get caught up in, he's so much better than his speed is. He's got such good release. His route running is impeccable. He has great hands. Like I said, he only dropped one pass. He's obviously going to be used in the kick return game as well. So he's able to that vertical as well. I mean, over 40 inches. He's able to jump up and catch those balls. You know, one of the craziest catches I saw last year was Tyreek Hill. The week he came off an injury, he jumped up in I think it was the 1 yard line, made one of the most craziest catches I've ever seen for a guy his height, and he's known as a quick guy. So that vertical is going to help him. His hands are going to help him, and I think that he is going to translate so well to the next level. Obviously, he can deal with being a little bit more physical at the next level because a lot of taller defenders can definitely push him around a little bit. That just comes with his size and strength that comes with his frame. But overall, this guy is almost a can't-miss prospect in my opinion. He's a lot different than what John Ross was coming out. You know, John Ross became a first-round pick because of his speed. Henry Ruggs III would have been a first-round pick if he didn't have the speed. And that's why I have him going over Jerry Jeudy just a little bit, because I think that he adds that extra weapon to where he's going to line up next to Tyrell Williams and Aguilar, and they're going to have Hunter Renfroe as well. I mean, Darren Waller. This is going to be a very fun offense to watch. I think John Gruden would love to draw plays for a guy like Henry Ruggs. At pick 19, I am selecting linebacker Patrick Queen out of LSU. A lot of people don't have Patrick Queen as a top 20 player, and I frankly just don't understand how. I mean, this guy is pretty much as good as Devin White was coming out last year, and obviously the draft class last year wasn't as talented going into it prospect grade-wise, but Patrick Queen is one of those can't-miss linebackers as well, and he's going to be not a lot of people have him falling out of top 20. I just don't understand it. When you look at what he did at LSU, he's mostly played the past 2 seasons, but this last season was really his best year. In his 2 seasons, he's had 131 tackles, 17.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, as well as 2 pass deflections and an interception. He's somebody that can cover a lot of ground on the defensive side. He's 6 foot, 229. He runs a 4.5. He's 35-inch verticals, 125 inches on the broad jump as well. When you look at what he can do, he's drawn comparisons to a guy like maybe a Thomas Davis, which is elite company. That's a very good veteran to be in. He plays big in big games. He showed his best play in Georgia, Oklahoma, and Clemson. Those were his best games, and those are the best competitions you can do. He's able to read and figure out what the play is, diagnose what he's got to do. He's able to has IQ and understanding for play recognition is very good. He has that ability to go through a blitz and just absolutely wreck the hole. Just get through the gap and pop up really well. I don't know why I can't say that, but he's always got his pads squared. He's got impressive balance when it comes to coming into coverage as well. He's pretty decent in coverage with the zone and everything like that. Obviously, he can learn a little bit, but he's athletic enough to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. So that's something that you want. I mean, you could play him at inside or outside linebacker if you ask me. I think he really doesn't have a set position, but the linebacking core has been a little poor. Obviously, Corey Littleton was a very big get in free agency, but I think having a guy like Patrick Queen is going to help out that linebacker core even more, make that front seven a lot scarier, and he's able to just cover so much ground and do so much. Obviously, some weaknesses. He was only a 1-year starter, so he can develop a little bit more. But when you have a front office, basically, not even just a coaching staff, but a front office and an organization that's going to be helping. Mike Mayock, he loves his draft picks. John Gruden, he's a football guy. I mean, this is a team that wants to win, and they're trying to prove something their first year in Vegas. So Patrick Queen is going to be a huge get for them. Now, moving on all the way over to pick 81, I'm selecting center Nick Harris out of Washington. This offensive line can use a couple things, and with aging veterans on the offensive line, I think getting a guy like Nick Harris who can play offensive line pretty much the whole thing, guard, center. Obviously, I don't think you're going to slide him out to tackle too much, but when you have guys like Rodney Hudson and all these aging veterans that you're going to have to replace one day, get a guy in the third round in Nick Harris where you're going to be able to not only develop him into a solid starter, but he's not going to have to play right away. This is a guy that you're going to be able to grow. He's 6'1", 302 pounds, so he's very good size. Things I really like about him from his time at Washington is that he was always ready to go out there and just destroy whoever's lining up across from him. He's got that determination when he gets out there. He climbs very well. I talk about that a lot. I love when my linemen can climb to the second level very quickly and with precision, He's got good base. He's able to use that strength and that frame to kind of keep the body control against others. He's able to stay hip to hip with another lineman if they have to double team somebody. He's not a guy that you're going to see make too many mistakes. Things that I think that he could definitely work on is he kind of has to get into the right scheme, which we'll see. I think the Raiders can develop him into being something good. He also is he moves his feet a little bit too much. He's got to kind of settle down a little bit. And, of course, he can also get sometimes a lot of linemen coming in do this a lot. They get their hands a little bit too high too often, and especially with how the elite hands to the face has been getting called these past few years, something he can work on. But Nick Harris, this is a guy where I think that you can develop into a guard or a center, and he doesn't have to, like I said, doesn't have to play right away. It's a third-round talent. The Raiders aren't looking to completely win the Super Bowl next year, but to get a guy like him to learn behind, obviously, the talented offensive line that they have, they brought in a lot. They've spent some draft capital on it. It's pretty much time to shore it up. And when those older veterans either leave or retire, you don't want to be left with another big hole. So get a guy like a Nick Harris here at 81 and fill that hole as soon as possible. Moving on to pick 91, I'm getting another linebacker in Akeem Davis-Gaither out of, it's supposed to be Appalachian State. There's a Washington logo there, so apologies for that. But Davis-Gaither was an absolute monster this last 2 seasons. 96 tackles and 101 tackles in the past 2 years. For a total, he had 201 altogether in his college career with 24 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, an interception, and 15 pass deflections. This is a guy who's got a very small frame. He's able to do a lot for you. And this is going to be one of those guys where you're going to want him to be one of your depth pieces. 6'1", 224, 21 reps on the bench. When it comes to, pick 91 here, you're not looking for guys who are going to start. You hope that they can end up being a starter, but these are depth guys, and I think that getting more and more depth is just going to help out a lot. I think he's somebody that you could even play on the edge if you need him to, but there's definitely different things that you can do here. He used a stat sheet filler this whole college career. Those past 2 years have been absolutely insane. He's able to kind of get through the run game. When there's a run play, he's able to find the hole. He's able to get through it. He's able to read it very well, as well as he's able to blitz off the edge. In his last 27 games, he had 209 tackles. We already talked about that a little bit too. And on top of that, he's able to be used on special teams. He's able to cover, and he's able to kind of gain ground, which is what you want from your depth guys. I think this is definitely somebody you can start out young, keep him on special teams, have him flip in a little bit, and see what you can get in the next few years. But his size and skill set doesn't really have a set position. He might be a linebacker, he could be an edge rusher. You could do a lot of different things with him, but it could be, he doesn't really have a specialty towards one. I think that he kind of has a strong safety build. You can probably try and throw him out there as well, but he has to be better in space. He has to be better in coverage, and of course he has to progress as a tackler to the NFL level because of his base. It's possible that injuries become a factor when he's trying to hit a guy like even a Josh Jacobs across from him. That's a tough to cover. So I think this is definitely a guy who you can use as a depth piece to be very well, because he is kind of that hybrid. You can use him at different spots, and I think that versatility is going to be very good for a guy like John Gruden and this Raiders team to build and to learn from, as well as use him within the next few years. Going into pick 121, I'm selecting defensive tackle Jason Strowbridge out of University of North Carolina. Again, more depth on the position. A lot of these D tackles they signed this offseason have all been on 1 years. I think Hankins is on a 1-year deal. They signed Malik, what's his last name? From the Cowboys. I'm totally blanking on his last name, but they signed him to a 1-year deal as well. So there's not really a future in this position. So when you get a guy like Jason Strowbridge at 121, 6'4", 275, he ran a 4.89, 26 reps on the bench as well. This is a guy who is going to be able to be, you probably learn a lot, have him learn a lot this first year, and possibly let a lot of those guys go on 1 year and have him fill in probably as a DT2, if anything. Because he was at school for 5 years. He played for 4, really started for 3. He had 123 tackles, 22 TFLs, 10.5 sacks, as well as 3 pass deflections and 2 forced fumbles. This guy was a absolute homewrecker when it came to UNC football, and that's kind of what you want. He's got a lot of tread on his tires, but they're good. It's good tread. He's been there for a long time. He's got that NFL length and strength. He has very good demeanor. As soon as the ball snaps, he's going to be running towards and try and get through. He's got a lot of power to get through blocks. He's able to cut blocks as well. His arms are very good to move other blockers out of the way, kind of get his hands under him and do a lot with it. Some things I think he could work on is that he doesn't really have a set technique that he specializes in. A 5 technique or 3 technique, kind of switches between it. He doesn't really have the agility to get around blocks and get through foot traffic. He's kind of slower with his legs, which it's not a horrible thing. A lot of guys are just there to plug the hole. I think that's kind of what Strowbridge might end up being at the next level, but he can sometimes be out of control. He misses tackles a lot more than he should as well. Something you definitely need to help him with on his tackling. But overall, getting a guy like him at 121, what I expect from him is that, like I said, he's going to be a depth piece, kind of not do too much his first year, but you let him grow, let him develop, and then a lot of those 1-year deals, you're not going to have to pay them the millions that you're going to have to get them back. So getting a guy like Strowbridge, he's going to help you out in the long run. Getting him here at 121, I think, will fit out pretty well. And last but not least, I'm selecting J.R. Reed, the safety out of Georgia. Reed is kind of a weird situation here because being at a school like Georgia, a lot of their talent is very highly graded, and he's been a very solid contributor to the Georgia defense the past few years. He's been there for 3 years. He had 199 tackles, 9 of them were TFLs with 3 sacks, adding 5 interceptions and 14 pass deflections, as well as 2 forced fumbles and 3 fumble recoveries for 2 total touchdowns as well. When you look at what he's done, he's 6'1", 202. He ran a 4.54 at the combine. He had a 34-inch vertical. There's nothing really too special about his game. That's I think what kind of is what I think that's what kind of draws him back. He had production for the past 3 years. We all know that. He's got a very very good rushing attempt. He's able to hit He's able to hit gaps. He's able to go around the edge. He's able to do a lot of that. He's got the toughness to play inside the box, but he can also be left at the safety position and do at least pretty well. He can cover the slots and tight ends, like the bigger slots like the Larrys in the league. He's able to do that. And his tackling is pretty above average, I'd say. I think he's pretty solid at tackling. He doesn't miss too many tackles, but the weakness is that his safety play isn't really what you're looking for in the NFL. He's kind of a smaller frame for it. He's kind of got one speed on closing the ball, and he is not the best at covering route running. If somebody cuts on a route, he's going to be left back a little bit, so he doesn't really have that explosive athleticism you want as a safety. So he's kind of going to need to bulk up a little bit, get more strength and size to be a 3-down safety. But I think that his versatility can be used at different positions. I think that he'll be a good special teamer. I mean, in the 6th round, you're really not looking for too much more than that. He had a lot of production, so even though I'm saying all these things about him, he produced pretty well at Georgia. So I don't see a reason why he can't be a solid depth piece and end up producing decently at the next level for the Las Vegas Raiders. But that is going to be it for the video today. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Let me know, Raiders fans, how you like the move to Vegas. If you're a Vegas Raiders fan, if you're an Oakland Raiders fan, how have you stayed with it? how are you kind of dealing with this whole transition? Because I haven't really talked to many Raiders fans, so I'm definitely interested to see that. Of course, if you're new to the channel and you're part of that 97% of viewers that do not subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. We're over 500 subscribers. It's been a lot of fun growing with the channel and creating all these videos. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So be sure to leave a subscription down below, as well as a like on the video if you did enjoy it. If you didn't, just refresh the page and check it out a second time. Let me know how you think about it then. And without further ado, that is going to be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next video.